Good afternoon. How are you? Hope you're well. It's not quite 10 at 3 time at Tennessee. We'll be there in about an hour and a half doing that. Wes Rucker right now here in the 10 News Streaming Center, coming to you on National Signing Day, which I guess used to be called, I don't know if it's officially National Signing Day now because that still happens in February. This is the first day of the early signing period, which this day and age has basically become National Signing Day. Of course, not everyone has to sign today. Not everyone will sign today. But to this point, it's 125, 126 Eastern. I think at least 21 of Tennessee's 25 commits have signed. And Josh Heupel here in just a few minutes is going to go there just about a couple miles down the road there at Tennessee's campus, Anderson Training Center, and he's going to discuss what he thinks about Tennessee's signing class. Now, I'll tell you, I bet he's going to say he likes it. That's the first guess of the day. As someone who's covered, I think, in 25 of these, basically, and then you count basketball ones too. I've never once seen a coach come up and say, "No, I don't like this class. I just don't think we did a very good job this year. I don't think we made the team better. I don't think the program got better in any way. In fact, we might be worse." That's never happened. To my knowledge, that's never happened. Even at Penn State, they might not be saying that today, even though they might not have anything going on at Penn State today because they don't have a coach, and most of their signing class is signing with Virginia Tech, which is coached by the man Penn State is paying millions of dollars to in order to basically take their own recruits and take them somewhere else. So that's the world we live in now. When you think about things in that context, hey, the situation in Tennessee doesn't sound so bad, does it? The Vols are, I would say, fairly standard, not quite universal, but I would say generically average-wise, this is a top 10 signing class for Tennessee. Now, that doesn't mean it'll be one of the most productive. It could be the most productive in a few years. It could be, in the 50s. You never really know how these things work out. But as someone who spent years working in that industry, I can tell you that recruiting is really never been closer to a science than it is now. But it's always going to be an art. It's never going to be a science. It's more science-like now with all the metrics and all the data and all of those things, but it's not – there's still that part of it that you really, especially at offensive line, there's just places that are really hard to evaluate, and you find out in a few years as guys develop. Remember, these are just 17, 18-year-old kids who you might think that they're legally adults, some of them, but they still got some growing to do, and they still are going to get bigger, faster, stronger. Some will mature quicker than others. Some will mature faster physically. Some will mature faster mentally, intellectually, behaviorally, and you'll get the results that you get in a few years. And the other interesting component here is that you used to be able to just stack recruiting classes and say you were going to have a good roster. Not quite that simple now. Not quite that simple now because you still have to retain your roster year to year, and you're still fortifying your roster from the portal every year. So this is obviously not February. This is now December, and so many things are going to happen. You'll see after these signing classes are officially announced, then you'll see more action from that transfer portal because coaches, I'm not going to say that it's shady behavior, but typically what happens is they make sure they get those national letters of intent, which kids don't have to sign, but most of them do. And they get those letters, and then all of a sudden, oh, hey, here's who we're adding from the portal. We didn't tell you this before. But don't worry, it's not a big deal. And that's not just at Tennessee. That's at 130 Division I FBS football programs across the country, probably 130 FCS ones too. That's how it goes. So it's not quite as easy to just transfer exactly what this means because, again, there's going to be a lot of transfer activity in the portal. There's going to be a lot of different things going on. But insofar as we can tell right now, this looks like a top 10 recruiting class for Tennessee. Right now, I think it's number 8 nationally in my old colleagues at 24/7 Sports. That's where they have it. Number 11, I think, is where the On3 industry guys have it, whose bosses are guys I used to work for also back in the day. Good guys, still love those guys. They're very good at what they do. And so you're getting a snapshot there of kind of what this class is. It's got the 5-star quarterback that you want, Faison Brandon from Greensboro, North Carolina. I suspect Josh Heupel will be asked about him, and I suspect Josh Heupel, now that he can officially talk about this young man, will be very happy to talk about this young man because who doesn't like talking about a 5-star quarterback, right? Who doesn't like talking about a 5-star quarterback? Unless the 5-star quarterback just beats you, but any other five-star quarterback you're happy to talk about. So they'll be happy to talk about him. They'll be happy to talk about a couple of local products. Tyreek King from Knoxville Catholic High School. What best high school in the history of the planet? That's objectively a fact.
Are you sure there's not a little bit of bias going into that one?
Not really. I think it's a double-blind study of me and my family, and we both thought that it was the best high school in the history of the world. That's an unofficial opinion. But Tyreek King is nonetheless a big-time wide receiver. In all seriousness, a big-time wide receiver. Catholic has produced a lot of prospects in recent years. He is another one coming off that pipeline, and Tennessee's done a good job recruiting that school. Didn't get all of them. You might remember a couple of guys who went to Notre Dame and Clemson who were pretty good. But for the most part, Tennessee has done very well recruiting in that school. Also, Zay Anderson from up there in Greenville, I think his official signing is later this afternoon, if I believe that's correct. I believe we'll be getting information from that as we've had, Emily Ray Cochran and Elijah Nixon and the rest of our Techno Army have been out at all these signing day things throughout the year, and we'll obviously be talking about that at 10 at 3. We'll be talking about that at 5, 5:30, 6, 10, 11, and anytime right here on the WBR Plus app, and anytime on the 10 News mobile app, the WBR website. There's a million ways, all the socials, a million ways you can go get that, and we'll be talking about all of this all day long. We'll also be talking about Tennessee's basketball game last night, which was not a very good one, if you remember. If you're Syracuse, it's a good one, but if you're Tennessee, not so much. We'll talk about that, why maybe don't freak out. But, hey, it's not great, but don't freak out. It's not great, but don't freak out. But obviously we'll be talking a lot about Tennessee's recruiting class, which also has some big five-star prospects like Gabriel Osenda, big offensive lineman down there at Baylor School in Chattanooga, a Florida native who finished his high school career at Baylor, 6'7", big old lad, 6'7", long arms, big hands, got those oven mitt hands there at offensive tackle. Hard to get guys who look definitely like tackle prospects and not guys who might shift inside to guard, but not that guards are bad. Guards need love too. You need guards and centers, but true offensive tackles in this day and age, hard to find and really hard to develop. Whether you take a high school tight end and beef him up and get him, or you kind of keep one that's ready for him in that size. It's just hard to get guys at that position because defensive ends and edge rushers in football these days are just astronomically talented. They're freaks. They're basically velociraptors. It's hard to keep those guys off of your quarterback. And to do that, what do you have to do? You got to go get offensive tackles that are 330 pounds and athletic and have long arms, big hands, smart, tough mentally, won't jump off sides, and can keep the best athletes on the field away from your quarterback. Other than that, it's a really easy job. So, yeah, there's a lot. Tennessee's got a few linemen in this class who I think look really good. A couple linebackers, a couple good edge rushers that Tennessee's added really well, if I could say so, in the past few years recruiting in edge players. And it's a shame that a couple of them were hurt down the end of this season, with Joshua Josephs being a little dinged up, Jordan Ross being unable to play for a few games. But Tennessee has recruited very, very well at that position the past few years, put some first-round picks in the NFL, got other guys like Byron Young who went too low in the draft, and they're proving that by how well they're playing out there. He's a dynamic player already for the Rams. There's a lot that they've done at that position in recent years, and I think I like the ones that they've gotten in this class too. There's a lot of really good players in this class. Now, I think there are questions to ask about a couple positions. We'll talk about that at 10 at 3. I think there's a couple of areas where Tennessee probably, you could argue that the NIL distribution maybe at times could be more weighted toward transfer players than high school players. We'll talk about that a little bit at 10 at 3. I just think in a year-to-year world, you would rather spend your heftiest NIL chunk of the money on players that you know are going to start. Plus, if you're taking kids out of high school just because you're the highest bidder, you know what you're going to be doing the next 3 or 4 years? You're going to be renegotiating with him and his family every 3 to 4 years, and you're going to be a hostage. So Tennessee's learned a couple lessons in the past year or so, I think, on what can happen when you do that. You dance with the devil. Occasionally he's going to step on your feet. Occasionally he's going to burn you. So there's a lot of things going on there. Still waiting on Josh Heupel to go up there and do his press conference, and he hasn't gone up there yet, and I can tell that because Emily's operating our camera, and she's doing a bit of a white balance check right now. So
yeah, you can see right now we're still waiting on Heupel. We've got a empty podium at the moment.
It always makes me laugh, the white balance check, because with that dark gray background, you have to occasionally go like over to that first horizon sign or down to the floor and white balance before you go back. And it also, inside baseball here, when two people come up one after the other and their skin hues don't match, sometimes you got to go reset the white balance again because it just doesn't quite. In that room, it's a dark room with very, very dark room with very bright lights and a very dark background. And I'm an idiot with cameras, but I can tell you that does mess with a white balance.
A little, yeah. I've noticed that shot tends to be a bit tricky for people to get dialed in.
A little bit. Yeah. But I think it's going to be interesting because Josh Heupel's not really a PR guy. Maybe you've noticed that over the years. He doesn't really love doing press conferences. He's very pleasant to speak with, off the record, always. He just, I think, sort of sees this media as something he has to do, not something he gets to do, which is fine.
It tends to be a little bit fashionably late, I feel like. Yeah, we were supposed to start here, I think, at 1:30-ish. So we should be getting underway here any moment once he shows up.
Should be. Now, that's why we go on here early and we bring him, hey, he could be a little late. Let's talk. Let's get an old windbag up here. Let's get somebody who could stall for time really well. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what I do happily.
That's what we're great at.
I was about to say I do it at a high level, but I don't know if that's true. I just happily do it. That there's a difference in those two things.
Found your calling in life.
But no kidding, right? You want somebody to talk for 3 hours about that weird feeling when you're driving down the road and it's raining, but the sun's out, so you've got sunglasses on and you're using your wipers. I once did almost an entire hour on radio talking just about that, taking questions from callers on how they handled it. We can stall. That's not a problem.
But yesterday we spent 10 minutes talking about the weather?
Oh, yeah, because I cry every time it's cold. Below 50 degrees, I don't want to go outside. You have to push me physically outside. You have to be.
We could do it again until Heupel shows up.
We might have to. It's rough.
Tap dancing over here.
No kidding. But I do think, in all seriousness, this will be Josh Heupel's first public comments since that how did I describe that incinerated dirty diaper that Tennessee had against Vanderbilt there in the second half. Yeah. And so, clearly after that game, normally Heupel about 10 minutes. That's all he wants to talk anyway. That one was about 6.5 minutes, and there were a bunch of questions asked. So that tells you how curt some of those responses were and what that mindset was, what his mood was at that moment. But this will be the first time he's talked since then. I would imagine he'll be putting on a bit more of a happy face as far as he makes happy faces today. I think he'll be maybe a little bit less angry gum chomping. Because there was some angry gum chomping after that. And it was like he was chewing that thing so angry that I bet, and I haven't talked to them, but I bet Tennessee's sports info people tried to very kindly tell him not to maybe chew gum during the presser, but he was in a mood, and they were like, we're not doing it today. It was like when they used to ask Alvin Kamara back in the day to take out his earrings before interviews, and everybody else did it, but Alvin Kamara was like, no. In a very nice way, but he was like, no, I'm not. You want me to talk or not? And they're like, well, you're Alvin Kamara, so go out there and talk, bud. And, of course, it was dumb then that they cared about it, but that was just sort of how everybody, especially in the SEC and Big Ten, were at that time. Now, they don't really care so much. You want to go out there with your bling, that's fine. Just make sure it's nothing. Make sure that this year you've got nothing that shows Adidas stripes. Next season, make sure you got nothing that shows a Nike swoosh.
Yep.
And you're good to go, basically. Mm-hmm. You are good to go. Of course, now, especially with Tennessee basketball, some players have already signed, their shoe deals with companies that are not Nike. But they have to wear Nikes on the floor during games. So you know what they do? All whites, baby. All whites. Just pure, crystal clean whites where you can't see what the logo is. That is old school. Old school business relations is what that is, right? That's old school. But I do think we all are interested to see sort of how Heupel handles this thing. Is he going to get some questions about the Vandy thing in the offseason? Bet he is. Is he going to want to talk about it today? No, he's not. But is he going to be asked about it? I bet he will. If I were in there, and I usually am in there for these pressers, I would be asking, hey, by the way, there's a lot going on now with the portal. How are you feeling about, you feel about you've got a good foundation with the guys coming back? Do you have guys who are already wanting to leave? And he won't answer them, but we still will ask. And people say, why do you do that? And I say, well, because if we're going to write stories or we're going to go on air and talk about it, we have to say that we asked them for a comment on the situation, or else that's not being fair. So there are times where you pick your battles on that, because Heupel's only going to talk a couple times a week for maybe about 10 minutes. Back in the Fulmer days, it was 4 or 5 days a week, about half an hour. And if you needed that, you called him on his phone later if you worked for one of the bigger papers. It was easy, man. You could ask him anything any day. And with Rick Barnes, you don't know when he's going to come talk. Usually it's going to take a long time after games, I can tell you that. Boy, nobody takes longer than old Rick after games. He goes over there, chops it up on Radio Row with used to be Bob Kessling, now Mike Keith, and we're sitting there an hour after the game being like, dude, come on. But when he comes out there, he's great, and he'll give you whatever you need. So with Heupel, you're going to get about 10 minutes about twice a week. So in that time, you have to say, what do I really have to ask, and how many questions that we know he won't answer do we have to go out there and ask because we just have to? There's like a line where you have to ask the question. You're like, I have to ask this one. No, this one can wait.
Yeah. Looks like we're about to get underway here.
Are we about to finally?
The Tennessee Athletics has started their live stream, which is usually a good sign we're about to start.
Yes, I see a couple people walking there to the middle.
Walking up. I think we got movement. Hold on.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to have movement.
Hold on.
The Eagle's about to land.
We're about to find out here. It could be a false start, though. We gotta
if those people are walking, they've been waiting in the hall because it's too cold in that room. I'll tell you about that when we come back. It's 30 degrees in that room. So some people wait to walk in until Heupel does. So you can either get a seat and freeze, or you can wait and be warmer. So in just a second here, we'll kick it to Tennessee football coach Josh Heupel, who will be speaking about Tennessee's signing class, about the guys who have signed. Maybe he can't talk about the guys who haven't signed yet, but he'll talk about that. He'll talk about, I imagine, the portal. I imagine he'll be asked about it and won't talk about it. I imagine he'll be asked about staff changes and he won't talk about it. I imagine he'll be asked about the Vandy game, maybe a little bit, and he probably won't do much to talk about it. He'll say that's the past. It's pretty good. I mean, I could do. I've been getting a lot of games wrong lately, Tom, in predictions. We talked about this yesterday.
You said it's been a kind of a tough stretch for you the past couple of weeks.
Anti-heater.
Oh, I see a Heupel.
There's Josh Heupel. We'll be back here in
just
a second.
We have got him.
All right, welcome to National Signing Day. Coach will make an opening statement, and then we will go into questions right after. Coach.
Good afternoon. This is always a huge day for the future of our program. So excited about the guys that we have signed. I want to thank all of our organization. There's so many people that go into it. It starts with our personnel department, our coaches, developing relationships, being out on the road. It takes our administration support. It's professors on campus, certainly our content team, everybody that goes into such a pivotal role in the recruiting process. So I want to thank them. But I really should have started with, I want to thank the families, the coaches, and the recruits themselves for entrusting us with their future, their son's future, one of their players' futures, the chance that we have an opportunity to play such a vital role in them chasing their goals and dreams. I want to thank them for all their efforts, but also just entrusting us with them. So, I think our staff did a great job here in state. From the moment I got here, I said it was important for us to go recruit it the right way. Doesn't mean that we take every player, but that we recruit it the right way. Able to sign the top defensive player in the state, Joel Wyatt, top offensive lineman, and Gabe Osinda. Thought our staff did a great job here inside of the state of Tennessee, and the bordering states as well. Again, went into North Carolina and got the top player there. Just really proud of what we did. The ability to add great length, athleticism on the defensive side of the ball. I think 13 guys that are public at this point. Hopefully we'll have some good news here as the afternoon continues to go on. But adding elite traits, dynamic playmakers on that side of the football. Couldn't be more excited about what we've done there. The afternoon has a chance to trickle in and bring in some more guys. Hopefully you guys stay tuned. But really excited about what we did in this class. So I'll open it up to some questions from y'all.
Questions? We'll start with Austin.
Y'all just announced the signing of Legend Bay, who had committed to you, then flipped, and now is flipped and signed back. Just talk about getting him in this class, and then what Kelsey was able to do in this class with the receivers of King and obviously Tristan Keys as well.
Yeah, Legend, on the video, he is dynamic, special playmaker, ball in his hands. Got a chance to watch him live and in person too, and he is such a unique tool. His skill set, having played quarterback, the command, the presence that he has back there, throws the ball really extremely well in person. As a playmaker, man, the ability to be involved out in space, perimeter screen, the ability to go up and high point balls, he's extremely loose. He's a guy that can be used in the return game as well. So just a dynamic tool that we have an opportunity to add to the offensive arsenal. Yeah, Kelsey, you know, early on, our personnel department, you know, researching him, and then, you know, Kelsey got a chance to watch him really early in the process. We got on him extremely early, and I think that's one of the keys of ultimately getting him. Kelsey did a great job developing a relationship with Legend, his family. You know, they had a great experience up here. And, you know, through the stretch run right here, we were hoping to get some good news. And, you know, Kelsey certainly did a great job of flipping him back.
When When Faison became the first recruit or the first commit back in the summer of 2024, how did that kind of influence the way the rest of the class was built out offensively?
Yeah, first of all, Faison's a great player. You know, we had an opportunity to watch him on the basketball court. Extremely explosive, great touch, had great presence, and you know, bodies in motion. You see that on the football tape, obviously, as well. He's played at an elite level for a long time. His body continued to develop. He's got a great mind. He's extremely quick-minded. You combine all those factors, really excited about having him in the quarterback room and competing next fall. Anytime you're able to get a quarterback that's at that level and is made of the right things, he's able to develop relationships with guys and help attract them. And he certainly did that in this recruiting class, really on both sides of the football.
Josh, you talked about the ability to identify guys early. You guys were able to get in on Braden Rouse really early, kind of before anybody else, and then that turned into a national recruitment down the stretch. What do you feel like you got in him, and you know, how unique of a player can he be in your defense?
Yeah, long athlete that, you know, is continuing to physically develop, but we recognize all the traits really are on in the process. Unbelievable family. You know, dad's coaching, you know, and his football IQ has continued to grow. Really unique skill set. You look at him playing on the offensive side of the ball, wide receiver, tight end. Physically, he's continued to develop. He's played on all three levels of the defense as well, and every time that we're talking to him, you know, on a given game week, he's moving somewhere else in the structure of it. He's got great athleticism, change of direction. I think his body's going to explode when he gets to college, and you know, he's focused on one sport and in the weight room every single day. Just a high character, highly athletic individual that's I think going to develop into a really special player.
Found 3 players today that hail from Canada.
Yeah.
And Theodore and Osenda and then Carter Gooden. Why do you think those kids have been able to transition? And how much more do you think we'll see that continuing kids coming from Canada down here to the States to play at some of these private schools and prep schools? And have you learned the words to "O Canada" yet?
South Dakota was annexed by Canada a few years back, so it was part of our curriculum in school, actually. So didn't get much of a laugh out of you on that one, Austin. All right. I do think you've seen more and more guys come down from Canada, typically to private schools, chasing their dreams of playing American football at this level. And the 3 guys that you talked about, you think about the road, the journey that they have to be on to ultimately get to this point. There's so much sacrifice from the families, from the kid, moving away from home. I think that in some ways eases the transition to college for those guys, but that they're hungry and desperate to go accomplish their goals and dreams. And at the end of the day, that's what you need inside of your locker room, inside of your position rooms. All of those guys are, athletic at their position, have really good traits, and guys that have adjusted and grown inside of the landscape of football really quickly.
Josh, I remember last year you had David Sanders singing Rocky Top in the stands, and Tristan Keys feels like a similar story there. Just what is it about what you guys do in the recruiting cycle that makes players not just want to come play football here, but it feels like they truly love this program before they get into it?
Yeah, I think it starts with, who we are, our consistency, throughout the recruitment. I think it then parlays itself into who we are every single day into the building with our guys, because our recruits are going to find that out from our players. And you put all those factors together, and then our fan base, this campus, but our fan base, the experiences that they have with them, that can be at a game, it can be while they're here going to a basketball game. It can be, a fan that's at one of their high school games that's, just passionate about Tennessee and knows that a local player is, getting recruited by us. But then the game days experiences that they have, they know this is college football at its best, and recognize, who we are and what we're about, and the continued growth of where we're going. And you put all those factors together, we've been able to recruit the right type of player, but the right type of kid here to Rocky Top.
Recruiting's always been hard. Since you've been here, it's changed a lot with all the rev share and NIL and all those things. Does it feel in any way like it's settling down from that to where it's more about just relationships and not about money and all the things that people talk about out there?
Well, I think it's about all of the things that you just talked about. All the old historical things that were a part of recruiting, when the NIL era began, I don't know, 5 years ago, whatever it might have been, it changed it. I think things have slowed down a little bit. There are not as many dramatic changes inside of the landscape of it. There's certainly still some things that, college football is navigating. But certainly, I think the relationships and, who you are, the product that you have, and what they're going to play in, how they're going to develop is, really important.
Josh, what do you like about Tristan Keys, and just how important was that one from Kelsey being able to flip him earlier this fall?
Yeah, Kelsey did a great job with him. Our staff did, with TK, his family. Dynamic wide receiver, super loose, at the line of scrimmage, has the ability to stretch it vertically, but has ball in hand value as well. Has the ability to go attack the football. And dynamic player that is really excited about being here at Tennessee, and we're excited to have him for sure.
Coach, when you get those hometown kids into your program for the first time, do you see an immediate change in their perspective and how much more it means to the hometown kids like Tyreek King getting into this program?
Yeah, Tyreek's another one at the wide receiver position that's, explosive, dynamic. His short area acceleration is really rare and unique. Tyreek, it's been a long recruitment. I was talking with him last night, and man, 2 years ago he came by the hotel on a Friday night where he was off, and it feels like it was just yesterday, and it feels like it was a decade ago, all at the same time. But Tyreek, great player, great family, being local, understood what it's like inside of that stadium. But I think also it's different for the local kid in that, man, all of his classmates at his high school, all of his extended family, everybody that he's grown up with, super fans of Tennessee. And I think that's important that you have those guys inside of your locker room because they feel it, they live it, 365 days out of the year. And I can't wait to get Tyreek here, in the late spring and start going to work with him. I think he's got a great future in front of him.
Josh, obviously one of the big changes you were asked about was the portal. Obviously that's a big way to add players to your roster. You guys continue to bring in big recruiting classes. What's sort of the balance between traditional recruiting, portal, and how you guys approach it? It's different this cycle, just the timing of the portal. In general, I think it's a positive. For us, we'll look at what we've signed in this class, what we have coming back, and then attack the portal. How we continue to grow our roster to be ready to go compete and win a championship.
Josh, I know you're still waiting on a couple of guys to trickle in this afternoon, but as you do begin to look at the portal, do you see any obvious needs that you all feel you need to fill on the roster?
I wouldn't say anything as of right now, but certainly here over the coming days and weeks, we will look hard at that. We're finishing up exit interviews with our current players now, and then be ready to attack that when it comes here.
Last two, Matt and Mike.
Josh, Hezekiah Harris was committed to Auburn for over a year when you guys were able to flip him. What was Chop able to do in that to make that transition happen, and what kind of player do you feel like you're getting in him?
Yeah, just scratching the surface of what he's going to be. Super athletic, long, rangy, can play in space, can rush the passer. Chop did a great job just continuing to be consistent with Hezekiah and his family. They were able to get up here multiple times, had a great official visit, but all of his experiences, we got him up in May for our May event. Just super excited to get Hezekiah here. He is just beginning his football journey. I say that in a positive way. Like when he gets in the weight room consistently and, isn't on the basketball court or running around in the spring, I think his body's going to really take off, and couldn't be more excited about having him. And, as you said, Coach Chop and our staff did an elite job with him.
Yep. Josh, with Alex Golish being hired at Auburn, how excited are you for him? And will it be weird, I guess, next year when you face him?
Excited for him. Obviously, did a great job here, did a great job at USF. It'll be like playing Mississippi State, where you got one of your former guys that's on the other sideline. So, got a couple of them inside of this league. Excited for both of those guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
That was Tennessee football coach Josh Heupel talking about his signing class. I don't want to say his. I guess it's Tennessee signing class, right? These guys don't own the program. They sort of rent it. But and rent's a good word for just sort of everything, I guess, in college sports right now, if we're being very honest with ourselves. Nonetheless, a good day for Tennessee so far. The only thing that Heupel, I guess, could not talk about was there was Salisi Moa, who's one of Tennessee's top commitments, is a wide receiver from the state of Utah, one of the best receiver prospects in the country. He was supposed to sign today. He has not. Word is that Utah is making a really hard push for him to stay in the state at the last minute. A lot of people thought he would pick the Utes in the first place, but he did not. He picked Tennessee and committed to Tennessee, but now home state pressure, maybe a little bit of things are changing, putting wheels in motion. We'll see. Tennessee's going to have to fight there. I think when Josh Heupel's talking about big news that could come later today, that could be them trying to add him. There's also a couple other guys that just haven't, for whatever reason, signed yet, and they hope to get those either today or tomorrow. The big news, though, was Tennessee flipping one of the best names in this recruiting class anywhere in the country, Legend Bay, who is a big time athlete out of the state of Ohio. He played quarterback in high school, but he's just a football player is what he is. He's an incredibly fast quarterback. He can throw. There are things like it's not like he's just a running back or receiver who plays quarterback. He can throw the ball. He's a guy who could in some situations do that, right? The quarterback, he's listed at 5'10 and a half. Guess what? A quarterback who's about 5'10" just beat Tennessee's breaks off on Saturday. So, that, whatever. But he is an extremely, actually I said Ohio, I'm sorry, I said that. It was Ohio State that he had been committed to. Let me correct that. He is from Texas.
The Ohio State.
Yes. I got it twisted there. He is and I actually knew this and I talk like an idiot. He was committed to Ohio State. Before that, he was committed to Tennessee. He flipped to Ohio State not long ago, but then I don't know if it's because Brian Hartline took the job of Ohio State's assistant coach going down to become the head coach at USF. That was announced today. I don't know if that's what flipped Legend Bay at the last minute. I don't know if he just said, you know what, I was committed to Tennessee originally, and at the end of the day, that's just where I want to go. Maybe that got him flipped, back the other way. I mean, it's this day and age, right? It could have been a bag dropped on a porch. Like, who knows? And by that, I mean, that used to be the joke about when it was illegal to drop a bag on a porch. Now you could legally do that if
the
it's
so-called Chipotle / McDonald's /
yes,
those
oh
bags.
yes,
Yeah.
or just all of a sudden telling you what's undefeated? An anonymous backpack dropped on a back porch of a house or a front porch
Gets
of a
him
house.
every time.
Undefeated. Randy Moss forever. Straight cash, homie. Gangsters don't write checks. Straight cash, homie. Can't trace it. It's easy. Just don't put it in a McDonald's bag and don't give it out on campus.
And make sure it's legal to do so under the bylaws of the NCAA.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Well, I mean,
that's a key point.
Hey, I'm not the police here. I'll report on it, but we don't have the power. I guess we could citizens arrest, but I mean, come on now. We don't need to be getting in the middle like that. We're just reporters over here, aren't we? But regardless, this was a big deal for Tennessee. We're going to talk a lot more about this and a bunch of other things at 3, but did want to show you Legend Bay's profile there because he is someone who is a big deal. He could return kicks. He could play some at quarterback. He could play receiver, running back. He could play defense. There's a million things this kid could do for Tennessee, and he is just someone who you don't want him to be a jack of all trades, master of none. You want to find things he can do. But if you watch film of this kid, he just very clearly becomes one that you say, let's just put the ball in his hands. Let's just put the ball in his hands. He's one of those guys that you watch on film and you go, I think I would like to hand or throw him the football or snap him the football and just block for him. And I want to see what happens because I think he could do some damage. So that's a big deal for Tennessee, which class right now, but both with On3 and 24/7 is up to number 7 nationally. See, it was 11th and 8th when we started this thing. Now it's 7th. Of course, we're going to take a break here. We'll be back in an hour for 10 at 3. And when we're doing that, who knows what will have happened then? Maybe Salisi Moa signs. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he flips to Utah. Maybe Tennessee adds another surprise. Maybe Tennessee loses one of these 3 or 4 commitments who hasn't signed yet. We don't know. We don't know. I mean, maybe you know. I don't know.
I ain't sure.
I'm just being honest about that. I don't know. That's part of what makes this exciting, is it not? So we'll have a lot more to discuss here in about an hour. We'll be back for more talk of Tennessee's National Signing Day, early signing period. Obviously, we'll talk about the Syracuse debacle up there in the snow, up there in the tundra of upstate New York. We'll talk about all that, and then who knows what we'll talk about because we got a full hour and we can do whatever we want. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you here in just a little bit.